the likelihood of a fight with you and Terence Crawford, it would be one of the biggest in boxing.
We don't talking about yet about the fight. Me and Tukaraj know each other, and then we wanna see what.
Floyd Mayweather knows boxing better than anyone, and when he talks about a fight, he doesn't need to spell things out directly. He lets his words do the work. When it comes to Canelo versus Crawford, Mayweather hasn't hesitated to point out just how much of a challenge this would be for Crawford. And if you really pay attention, it's clear he sees this as a fight that's not just difficult for Crawford, but one that might not even be competitive. In his words, a mismatch.
What I have to say to Canelo is this. You proved yourself already. You proved yourself. You fought a lot of great fighters. You tested yourself.
Mayweather has always been a master at breaking down the nuances of boxing, and when discussing this potential matchup, he hasn't exactly been subtle. While he's given Crawford his respect as a pound-for-pound great, his words are loaded with hints that this fight is a step too far. He doesn't need to say outright that Canelo is too big and too strong for Crawford. He just keeps repeating what Canelo does well, and that tells you everything you need to know.
The only thing I see that I favor Canelo is that, you know, is his weight.
Yeah.
And that he's more bigger. You know what I'm saying? That's the only thing. But as far as skill set wise, IQ, I feel like Crawford can match anybody and probably do weight.
Canelo's strong, but it's nothing I've never felt before after being in the sport for over 20 years, Mayweather said, referencing his own fight with Canelo back in 2013. But there's a key difference. Mayweather fought Canelo when the Mexican star was young, raw, and still learning. Even then, Mayweather had to be at his absolute best to dominate him. A decade later, Canelo has grown into a rock-solid 168-pounder who systematically breaks down bigger men. And that's where the problem for Crawford begins. Crawford is without question one of the most skilled boxers in the world. He's a slick switch hitter, has impressive timing, and knows how to adjust mid-fight better than almost anyone. But skills alone don't win fights when the size gap is this massive.
Keep bringing up Canelo. I think that's weird, you know, because you'd have to gain like, what, 20 pounds?
Yeah.
But they say that's the money fight. That's the mega fight. That's the money fight. That's the only thing that makes sense for Terence Crawford.
Well, you know what I mean? Catch weight. You can do something.
Mayweather, like many others, has always preached that weight classes exist for a reason. It's one of his core philosophies, and he built his career around fighting at the right weight against the right opponents. He was never reckless about moving up in weight, always making sure he held the physical advantages. He even made Canelo drain down to 152 pounds when they fought, just to make sure he wasn't giving up too much size. But Crawford, he's looking at jumping 2 full divisions against a fighter who's already proven himself against bigger men. Mayweather sees the danger in that, even if he doesn't say it outright.
He have everything in a fighter, a complete fighter. He don't have power in the punches, but when you that kind of fighter, you don't need it.
You think that was the toughest fight you faced?
No.
What do you
I
think
think it's tough fights and difficult fights. That was
one thing that stands out when Mayweather talks about this fight is how much he emphasizes Canelo's strengths. He has great body shots. He breaks guys down, Floyd has pointed out. And that's no small thing. Crawford has never been in the ring with a body puncher like Canelo. At 147 pounds, Bud has been able to control fights and dictate the pace. But against Canelo, he's facing a fighter whose entire game plan revolves around systematically taking away his opponent's leg and making them wilt under pressure. That's a nightmare for any fighter moving up in weight, and Mayweather knows it.
All the crazy stuff about me going up and having a tough time, but he went up in weight and lost. That's the difference. I went up weight and won. He went up and lost. You know, so let's not do that, Canelo.
Then there's the issue of power. Crawford has respectable knockout power at 147. Knocking out welterweights is not the same as hurting a guy who's been fighting super middleweights for years. Mayweather knows what that weight difference feels like. He fought big guys before, but he also understood how to neutralize them with movement, speed, and defense. Crawford isn't a pure defensive genius like Mayweather. He likes to engage, he likes to trade, and he takes calculated risks. But against a fighter like Canelo, those risks could become costly.
Get his big bank and get out. His big bank is who? Canelo. He willing to take that gamble, see if he can beat him. If he beats him, he may go fight Benavidez next. If he don't beat him, he say, okay, I took it as high as I could go. I'm done.
Mayweather has also talked about Canelo's ability to control the ring. Unlike younger, inexperienced fighters who get frustrated when opponents move, Canelo is a patient, intelligent pressure fighter. He doesn't just chase his opponents. He methodically cuts off the ring, forcing them into corners and positions where he can unload his power shot. Crawford might be a great counterpuncher, but he's never faced someone who will walk through his shots and still keep pressing forward. That's something Mayweather has subtly highlighted when discussing Canelo's evolution. Crawford's ability to switch stances is often praised as one of his greatest strengths. Mayweather knows that Canelo has already seen and beaten southpaws before.
At the end of the day, I don't want to have credit to face Crawford, right? So no matter what, but you know, you never know. You never know in boxing.
Absolutely.
I'll go up and down and fight everybody out there.
Not just any southpaws either. He's faced much bigger, harder-hitting southpaws. Crawford's skill might be greater, but he won't have the luxury of making mistakes against someone as experienced and disciplined as Canelo. Then there's the endurance factor. Crawford has always looked sharp in the later rounds, but how does that hold up when he's carrying an extra 20 pounds and absorbing shots to the body from a guy who has broken down elite-level fighters at 168? That's what Mayweather sees as the real issue here. Even if Crawford starts strong, the physical toll will add up, and once Canelo starts landing clean, the fight could change quickly.
I don't think it's a fight Canelo really wants, if I'm honest, because I think he feels like he won't get a lot of credit beating a light middleweight. And Crawford's going to move a lot in that fight, which is not ideal for Canelo. But what's his options? I mean, like, you know, if Bivol wins, he could fight him for undisputed. That's a very tough fight.
Mayweather has never been one to give away his full thoughts unless he wants to make a point. And in this case, his avoidance of making a direct prediction is telling. If he really believed Crawford could outbox and beat Canelo, he would say so. But instead, he has spent more time pointing out how dangerous Canelo is. That's a quiet way of saying he doesn't see this as a fight Crawford can win. It's not that Crawford isn't skilled enough. It's that he's giving up too much in size, strength, and durability. Mayweather built his career on making sure he was never in that position, and that's why he likely sees this as a mismatch. Crawford might have the heart, but Canelo has the physical advantages that become more and more obvious as the rounds go on.
Versus Canelo.
Who heard it?
Listen how I said it.
Hey, are we getting this confirmation here first?
You understand? Yeah, it's confirmed. Man, what?
Say less.
Crawford versus Canelo, not the other way around. Team Crawford, stand up. Pound for pound, the best in the world. Soon to be the super middleweight champion of the world. Yeah.
Canelo doesn't need to be faster than Crawford. He doesn't need to be more skilled. He just needs to do what he does best. Walk his man down, invest in body shots, and break him down over time. That's how he's beaten bigger guys, and that's how he would approach this fight. Mayweather understands that better than anyone. And that's why, when he talks about this matchup, it's all about what Canelo does well. The conversation surrounding Crawford's chances in this fight has taken on a life of its own, with opinions ranging from cautious optimism to outright dismissal of his chances. But as Mayweather and other seasoned observers have hinted, the physical gap between these two fighters isn't just a factor. It might be the deciding factor. While many are drawn to Crawford's adaptability and intelligence inside the ring, there are concerns about whether those attributes alone can bridge the sheer difference in size, strength, and power when stepping into Canelo's domain.
Canelo got everything he wanted because he was the holdout for the money. The fight's going to be at 168.
I'm going to tell you in my prediction is Canelo's going to walk him down. Crawford is going to do a lot of defense. Now, if he...
For years, Mayweather has emphasized the importance of fundamentals in boxing. Hit and don't get hit. Control the pace. Make the opponent fight on your terms. That's exactly what he did when he fought Canelo. He neutralized every strength the young Mexican star had, keeping him off balance, making him hesitant, and exposing his rawness. But as Showbiz the Adult pointed out, that was a different Canelo. Today's Canelo is seasoned, calculated, and ruthless. He has fought and beaten elite-level opponents at much higher weights than anything Crawford has experienced. The idea that Crawford can come in and simply outbox Canelo the way Mayweather did doesn't hold up when you consider the realities of size and power.
First and foremost, motherfuckers want him to fight Crawford. That's a circus fight. So if we gonna do that, we could do the Jake too. You know, if y'all ain't got a problem with Crawford, y'all shouldn't have a problem with Jake. At least Jake a cruiserweight.
Canelo has developed an approach that works exceptionally well against slick, mobile fighters who rely on skill over brute force. He's not the reckless, overeager fighter who swung wildly at Mayweather. Now, he applies intelligent pressure, methodically cutting down the ring and targeting the body with surgical precision. Even against someone like Dimitri Bivol, who ultimately defeated him, Canelo was able to land clean shots and control certain stretches of the fight. But Crawford, he would be giving up all those physical edges before even stepping into the ring.
There's a lot of great Mexican fighters. That's not for me to rate fighters. I just take my hat off to so many fighters that paved the way, you know, for me to be.
Mayweather understands what it takes to move up successfully. He did it the right way, gradually calculating every move and picking the right opponents at the right time. Crawford, on the other hand, would be making an enormous leap without any experience in the weight class, and that's where the real danger lies. Crawford is at his best when he dictates the pace, forcing opponents to react to his game plan. But against Canelo, he'd have to fight on Canelo's terms, and that's a problem. Showbiz the Adult made another key point: Crawford's tendency to exchange. Unlike Mayweather, who avoided unnecessary risks, Crawford likes to mix it up. He gets into firefights. He wants to prove he can hurt his opponent. That mentality is part of what makes him such a great fighter, but it's also what could cost him dearly against Canelo.
Which fight was more difficult between Mayweather or Bivol, and why?
I think both are similar. Just Bivol is bigger.
Trading shots with a bigger, stronger man is a dangerous game, and in this case, it's one Crawford can't afford to play. Mayweather has also alluded to the concept of ring wear and tear. Canelo, despite his extensive career, has developed an approach that minimizes the damage he takes in fights. He doesn't waste energy. He picks his shots and conserves his stamina for the later rounds, where his pressure really begins to wear opponents down. Crawford, for all his talent, is stepping into a fight where he won't just be tested skill for skill. He'll be forced to survive in deep waters where Canelo thrives.
At the end of the day, I don't want to have credit to face Crawford, right? So no matter what, but you know, you never know. You never know in boxing.
Absolutely.
I'll go up and down and fight everybody out there.
Not just any southpaws either. He's faced much bigger, harder-hitting southpaws. Crawford's skill might be greater, but he won't have the luxury of making mistakes against someone as experienced and disciplined as Canelo. Then there's the endurance factor. Crawford has always looked sharp in the later rounds, but how does that hold up when he's carrying an extra 20 pounds and absorbing shots to the body from a guy who has broken down elite-level fighters at 168? That's what Mayweather sees as the real issue here. Even if Crawford starts strong, the physical toll will add up, and once Canelo starts landing clean, the fight could change quickly.
I don't think it's a fight Canelo really wants, if I'm honest, because I think he feels like he won't get a lot of credit beating a light middleweight. And Crawford's going to move a lot in that fight, which is not ideal for Canelo. But what's his options? I mean, like, you know, if Bivol wins, he could fight him for undisputed. That's a very tough fight.
Mayweather has never been one to give away his full thoughts unless he wants to make a point. And in this case, his avoidance of making a direct prediction is telling. If he really believed Crawford could outbox and beat Canelo, he would say so. But instead, he has spent more time pointing out how dangerous Canelo is. That's a quiet way of saying he doesn't see this as a fight Crawford can win. It's not that Crawford isn't skilled enough. It's that he's giving up too much in size, strength, and durability. Mayweather built his career on making sure he was never in that position, and that's why he likely sees this as a mismatch. Crawford might have the heart, but Canelo has the physical advantages that become more and more obvious as the rounds go on.